Tribe Church.
Well, we'll just fix it.
Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony.
If I'm not dead, then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, then you're not done. Greater things are still to come. Oh, I believe. If I'm not dead, then you're not done. Greater things still come. Oh, I believe. This is my testimony from death to life. 'Cause grace rewrote my story. I'll testify by Jesus Christ the righteous. I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony.
My testimony
From death to life.
'Cause grace rewrote my story.
I'll testify
by Jesus Christ the righteous, I'm justified. This is my testimony. This is my testimony. Yeah. You're not done, God. You're not done. We believe the best is yet to come, yeah. sound of the symphony to my ears. Oh, it's like holy water on my skin. Dead man walking, slave to sin. I wanna know about being born again. I need you. Oh God, I need you. So take me to the riverside. Take me under baptized. I need you. Oh God, I need you. And your forgiveness is like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. Yes, it is. Like the sound of the symphony to my ears. Oh, it's like holy water on my skin. On my skin. I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. And I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me want to change. Oh, I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. Oh, I don't wanna abuse your grace. God, I need it every day. It's the only thing that ever really makes me wanna change. Your forgiveness, it's like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. Like the sound of the symphony to my ears, yeah. Oh, it's like holy water, your forgiveness. Oh, it's like sweet, sweet honey on my lips. Like sound of the symphony to my ears. Oh, oh, it's like holy water on my skin. Oh, it's like holy water on my skin. Yeah. Oh, it's like holy water.
There's a grace when the heart is under fire. Another way when the walls are closing in. And when I look at the space between where I used to be and this reckoning, I know I will never be alone. There was another in the fire, standing next to me. There was another in the waters, holding back the sea. And should I ever need reminding of how I've been set free, there is a cross that bears the burden, and another died for me. There is another in the fire. All my dead left for dead beneath the waters, and I'm no longer a slave to my sin anymore.
Should I fall in the space between what remains of me and this reckoning? Either way, I will bow to the things of this world. And I know I will never be alone. There is another in the fire, standing next to me. There is another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding what power set me free, there is a grave that holds nobody, and now that power lives in me. There is another in the fire. There is another in the fire. In the fire. There's another in the fire. And I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him. I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between wasted. I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. There is no other name but the name that is Jesus. He who was and still is and will be through it all. So come what may between and all the things unseen and this reckoning. And I know I will never be alone. And I know I will never be alone. There'll be another in the fire, standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters, holding back the seas. And should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me, I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. And I can see the light in the darkness as the darkness bows to him. And I can hear the roar in the heavens as the space between rested. And I can feel the ground shake beneath us as the prison walls cave in. Nothing stands between us. Nothing stands between us. Another in the fire, standing next to me. There'll be another in the waters, holding back the seas. Should I ever need reminding how good you've been to me, I'll count the joy come every battle, 'cause I know that's where you'll be. Joy come every battle, I know that's where you'll be. Count the joy come every battle, I know that's where you'll be. No matter what you're going through tonight, Jesus will be there for you. He will bring you through anything and everything that you are going through.
spoke a word, you were singing over me. You have been so, so good to me. Before I took a breath, you breathed your life in me. You have been so, so kind to me. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. And oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. I couldn't earn it, I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Your foe, still your love fought for me. You have been so, so good to me. When I felt no worth, though you paid it all for me. Yes, you did. You have been so, so kind to me. I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. And all the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God, yeah. Shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, and lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. Oh no, no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. There's no shadow you won't light up, mountain you won't climb up, coming after me. There's no wall you won't kick down, lie you won't tear down, coming after me. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. And oh, it chases me down, fights till I'm found, leaves the 99. And I couldn't earn it, and I don't deserve it, still you give yourself away. Oh, the overwhelming, never-ending, reckless love of God. Overwhelming love, never-ending love, chasing me, God. Never giving up on me.
Good evening, Tribe Church. My name is Pastor Carrie Dilly. Whether this is your first time at Tribe or your first time in a long time, we are so excited to have you with us tonight. Hey, can you throw me that hat? I forgot it. Yeah, this one. Okay, Tribe hats are in. We're getting the shop open officially on Sunday, but if you have 20 in cash tonight, you can take home a beautiful Tribe hat. Isn't that exciting? Y'all have been, I was expecting a bigger response. Y'all have been begging for hats since forever. Now you're just like, okay, they're here, we're gonna buy them. Okay, great. Shop's gonna be over there. We're gonna be fixing that over the next couple of weeks. It's gonna be a little clunky at first. We appreciate your patience with that. But we are so excited about the hats. The next thing I have for you is coming up. It's gonna be great. Second Sunday, yes, it is going to be great. Second Sunday is our youth group that we have here at Tribe. Starts with fifth graders, goes all the way through high schoolers. If you graduated last year and you're not sure what to do with yourself yet, excuse me, hang on. 2 negative tests, guys, 2 negative tests, 2 negative tests. If you graduated like last year and you're still not like totally plugged in somewhere or whatever, you're welcome to come to Second Sunday. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be this Sunday, January 9th, 4 o'clock. You're going to love it. We are in our 21 days of prayer and fasting. That sounds like a room full of people who are on day 3 and it's kicking their butts right now. Am I right? Whew. I tell you what, Pastor Matt and I were doing one of our 5Ks this morning and we were on this long stretch and we were running into the wind. And the thing about running a 5K is it's hard for me the whole time. Every step, from the first one to the last one, it's hard the whole time. But man, it was really hard running into the wind. And I was thinking about you guys during that time, and I was thinking, man, like, this is what it's like, because the fast is hard the whole time, guys. But there are times when it's harder, but then we turn that corner, and it got a little easier. So when you're in those times, when it's feeling really hard, just remember, this isn't going to last forever. This feeling isn't going to last to the end of the day. It's not going to last to the end of the month. We're going to get through this, and we're going to get through it because we're doing it together. That's right. Yes. Okay. Speaking of things that we can do together, we have our tribe group starting very, very soon. We're going to be having a training for our tribe group hosts on January 19th. So if you want to be a tribe group host, I need to know before then. So if you are thinking about this, if you're even like, I'm not sure, maybe I'll come to the January meeting and find out. That sounds awesome. Text the number that you see on the screen, and we will get you signed up. It's going to be amazing. All you got to do is open your home. You don't have to like be a Bible expert. We're not going to sign you up for any classes or anything like that. You just got to open your house or a Zoom call. Whatever works. Okay. If you're like, I am ready, I am so excited, I want to be in tribe groups. Guys, this is our Wednesday night service. This is our like kind of believer service. I know that a lot of you are going to be in tribe groups. So if you could let us know, that would actually be super. So if you are wanting just to be in a tribe group, not host, but just to be, text the word tribe. It's the same number every time. Just save it in your phone. It's the same number every time. Text the word tribe to that number. Last thing I have for you, the hats cost $20, but the Tribe We Love You a Lot shirts are free. So if you have not got one yet, make sure you text the word new to that same, very same number. It's the same number every time. Text the word new to that number, and we will get you a We Love You a Lot shirt. We would love to get to know you, exchange phone numbers, start that relationship. We don't believe in membership. We believe in relationship. Speaking of relationship, I would love for you to greet the people around you to your comfort level. You've got 30 seconds to do that right now.
Well, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. I'm not gonna lie, you look around, it's a little light in here, so make sure when you tell your tribe friends, when they see you on Sunday, they're like, hi, I didn't make it the first Wednesday, you'd be like, listen, that service changed my life. That was literally the best thing I've ever been a part of. And they'll be like, oh my gosh, like I missed it. You're like, yeah, man, like can't miss it, even if it's cold outside. Can't miss it. All right, sorry, I'm done being bitter. All right, a few years ago, we took an amazing road trip with the Rays, Joe Mighty Ray, down the one in California, from San Francisco all the way to San Diego. We stayed all along the coast at different places, spent different time in different locations, and we just traveled down in a 15-passenger van. It was an awesome road trip, and that's sort of what inspired today's message, which is entitled Rules for the Road. Rules for the Road, 5 tips, rules of the road, whatever. 5 tips to ensure that you reach your destination safely. But of course, my real intent of the message is take these road rules or rules of the road and apply them to our daily lives. We're in a series in the month of January called Easy Street. Easy Street, it's like about starting the year off right and getting into the good habits and all that kind of stuff. And this is like a thematic offshoot, right? Easy Street, rules of the road. All right, I'm trying here, guys. All right. I used to like the song Life is a Highway. You know what song that is? It's embarrassing to mention that I did that, but depending on your age, you either think of Tom Cochran, or the guy who actually wrote the song, or Rascal Flatts had a version from the movie Cars, so some kids like that. Either way, the beginning of the song is like life is like a road you're on, and life is like a road that you're traveling on, and one day's here and the next day's gone, and we only get to live each day one time, but the road of life or the adventure of life is actually much more complicated than a highway, because we're all born or we come equipped with rear view mirrors, right? However, we don't come equipped with reverse, all right? So there's no do-overs. You only get to do your 20s once, and you look in your rear view mirror and you see how you did your 20s, and you're like, I would like to go back and do some of that again. Like, I would like to redo that, right? You can't go back and redo your 30s or that like first marriage or raise your kids again or raise that first child again, because the third one came along and you're like, I think we might have overdone it on that first one. I think we really put a lot into that first one, but now I'm kind of over it, right? So we all have regrets because we all have a rear view mirror, but there are no reverses. And some of us, if we're being honest, it's like a personality like temperament, right? We spend a lot of our lives looking in the rear view mirror, obsessing over our own regrets. But the truth is, the future from this moment forward is like a road we're on, and it's what we do from this point forward that makes all the difference. And of course, we can learn from our mistakes, but you can't live your life looking in the rear view mirror. You can't be driving while looking in the rear view mirrors. Just like you shouldn't, just be driving, right? And just like it's a bad idea. But we do want to get our future right, and we can't do that if we're always looking behind. So just want to get it right. You want to arrive safely at a destination, and it may be a goal. I don't set a lot of goals, admittedly. I have some goals, and I also allow them to change as situations arrive. Some of you are very detailed goal setters, right? There's different ranges of it, but everybody like listening, right? You could stand up and say, okay, at some level, here's what I want for my future to look like. Here's what I want it to look like relationally. Here's what I want it to look like financially. Here's where I want to be with my kids, right? Or hopefully you're like, I'll have kids one day, or I want to get married or remarried, whatever it may be. So we all kind of have a general idea of where we want to end up in this season of life and where we want to end up in life in general. And hopefully these 5 rules will help you get there. Hopefully help me get there. So 5 rules for the road, and I'm going to do these pretty quick, all super practical. We tend to be very practical in the month of January, and we continually just turn the knob up theologically all the way to Easter, right? So this is just a summation of some of the practical things to move forward with your life. So rule number 1, don't travel alone. Don't travel alone. We say this all the time. We are called Tribe for a reason. We believe in the power of community. We believe that Christians are meant to be in community together, to be alongside one another, to stand shoulder to shoulder with one another, arm in arm. So you travel with friends. You just don't allow yourself to get isolated. And in certain seasons of life, because of pain and the things that we've gone through, and again, like personality, there's the temptation to just be a bit isolated. So I want to encourage you to ignore that voice in your head. Ignore the voice in your head that says, I don't need anybody. I don't need anybody. I don't need anything from anybody, because you were created to live in and to operate in community. You do need some bodies around you. We were created for that, but who we do life with often determines how our lives go, right? And one of the tricks then when it comes to, who we do life with is don't simply gravitate towards acceptance. Acceptance is a powerful, powerful draw, right? But don't simply gravitate towards acceptance, because that can be a trap. Acceptance is magnetic, right? And this is most important during your transitions of life, right? You're leaving high school to go to college. You're leaving college to go to grad school. You're leaving grad school to start another, like a first job, or you're leaving the city to go to another city. You just got out of a relationship. You're looking for a new relationship. You just got through a divorce. You kind of hit pause for a couple of years. Now you're ready to start dating again. Whatever it is, every single transition in life, in every transition, especially relationally, we're all prone to gravitate towards acceptance. And that is the first person or people that accept us. And first, oftentimes, without giving it much thought at all, because they end up being the people that we spend the next season of our life with. If you raise teenagers, you know how powerful this probably is, right? If you change schools or went to a new job or walk in the first day, you don't know anyone. You're brand new. You don't know anyone. You come to a new church, right? And you don't know anyone there. The first group of people who reach out to you and extend some sort of invitation to do something, an invitation to travel, to participate in something, it feels good because you don't know anyone else. And before you know it, you're doing life with people who may not be anything like you, who you normally wouldn't even necessarily like, but they accepted you. I mean, we all are acceptance magnets, right? We just flow towards acceptance. So then when it comes to who you do life with, don't simply give into the magnetic draw of the person or the first group of people who show up and extend an invitation. It's definitely true for teenagers and kids especially. So if you're listening, this is huge. Even though they might probably be great people, and they could be sincere as they possibly could be, because the people who get in on the inside of our lives often determine the direction and the quality of our lives. And don't simply be content, and this is important, don't simply be content to do life with people who share your tastes. And so oftentimes the connecting point is taste, right? We like the same music. We like the same restaurants. We're in the same generation, right? We're from the same part of the country where we all share a certain taste. You need to look for people. This is important, especially in transitions. Look for people who share your values. You know what a value is, right? A value is something you predetermine is most important to you. There are things that are most important to you. And when you find people, and sometimes you got to move through some groups of people, good people, wonderful people. This kind of sound like Trump there. Good people, wonderful people. Sorry, I can't do a Trump impression. Just not the right people. When you find the people that you share your values with and have the same values that you have, even though they may not eat at the same restaurants or go to the same concerts or even like going to concerts, right? When you're able to find those people, those are the people that you need to do life with, those who share your values. Do life with people who share your values. They will have your back. You will have their back. And there's a synergy of values that will ensure that at the end of this season of life, that you will still be prioritized around the things that you've decided are most important in life and most important for you. And you'll get the most out of life. You'll get, and that's what we talk about, and obviously this is a bigger conversation about like you should be spending time with people who are faith-driven, who believe in Jesus, right? You'll get what you want most out of life. And you know this, we do life with, who we travel with, most often determines the direction and quality of our lives. In fact, if you have any children, who are back in Tribe Kids or who do stuff with the middle school, like on Second Sunday, we say, all the time, show me your friends and I'll show you your future. Your friends determine the direction and quality of your life, right? Your friends determine the direction and the quality of the trip that you're going to go on. So you should surround yourselves with people who we do life with. And this is extraordinarily important, people who share your same values. And if you're new here, I want to make sure you don't misunderstand. We're not saying that anyone is unimportant. We're not saying anyone is less important. What we're saying is when it comes to the inner circle of who you're traveling through life with, surround yourself with people that embrace your values. The author of Proverbs said it this way: whoever walks with the wise will become wise, and for a companion of fools suffers harm. Wisdom is understanding and living as if life is connected, that what happens today impacts tomorrow, and that what happened yesterday is going to show up in my life today. Life is connected. And so the author of Proverbs says, like, whom we do life with, whom we walk in life with, if they are wise people, we will become wise. Who understand that life is connected, that I've got to be disciplined in this season because what I want to achieve in the next season. You will become wise. But there's also a contrast, right? Because the Proverbs literature always has these contrasts, sometimes 2, sometimes 3. But it says the companion of fools, and this is really interesting, right? The companion of fool doesn't become fools, doesn't become a fool. That's not what it says, right? There's this. It says for like a fool, someone who lives life without care, who is careless. That's like, well, this is what I'm going to do today, but how's it going to impact tomorrow? Well, I don't know, right? That's tomorrow. This is today, right? Life is disconnected. The companion of fools, though, doesn't become foolish. It says they suffer harm. They suffer harm. It's not like you're getting more dumb. You suffer harm. The companion of fools doesn't necessarily become a fool. This is why giving into the gravitational pull of a group of people can be so dangerous. And if we're not careful, the companion of fools may never become a fool, but they will suffer the same consequences as a fool because of who they're traveling with. It's because of who you're traveling with. You can hear stories of anyone in this room when they were a teenager who got in trouble, even though they didn't actually do anything wrong. They were with people who were doing wrong things. So the bottom line is kind of this. Travel with people who are taking care of themselves, because if they're taking care of themselves, they will help you take care of yourself, and you will help them take care of themselves as well, right? So don't travel alone. Rule number 2, this is kind of an offshoot of rule number 1. Don't pick up strangers. Don't pick up strangers. Now, I need you to find a stranger. A stranger is somebody who is strange. That's what a stranger is. Now, honestly, we're all a little bit strange to somebody, okay? Right? So someone who, let's just say, someone who is a stranger than you, all right? That's what I mean by stranger. Pastor Carrie is super outgoing. She begins conversations with people that we're in line with. Like next to people on planes, like she has no problem talking. And some would say that Carrie's never met a stranger. So what I'm not saying is don't meet people and don't be friendly. But there are people that Carrie meets that are strangers to her, people that she wouldn't want to travel with, right? So bottom line on this is simply be kind. That's a fruit of the Spirit. Be kind, but be careful. Careful of who you allow in your vehicle. Careful who you allow in the inner circle of your life. We're kind to everyone. We're patient with everyone. We're compassionate and generous with everyone. But be careful who you allow on the inner circle, because it goes back to rule number 1. Right? He who walks with the wise becomes wise, but the companion of fools. You may never be a fool, but if you're close to people who aren't living their life according to your values, when something happens to them, it may happen to you as well. So I just kind of want to ask this question as we move on. Do you have any strangers in your life? And do you have any strangers you've allowed into your inner circle? And let me push that out a little bit. Is there anyone that you're doing life with, if you're real honest, that they make you less healthy? Do they cause you to doubt yourself? They seem to always be slowly and suddenly chipping away at your values. And they're kind of dismissive of your values. And at times you're almost intimidated to be yourself because of how they're going to respond. In fact, over time, you've found yourself becoming a different person when you're around that person and letting go of these values that you really hold true to and that matter to you. That is a stranger. And you need to drop them off. God loves them. You can't handle them. Maybe someday you'll be able to handle a person like that, but in your life is being bent and moved and drawn in a direction that creates tension on the inside, dings your conscience, right? You find yourself doing things you never intended to do. You find yourself drifting from your values. You find yourself being dishonest with another group of people because, again, suddenly you find yourself kind of living 2 different lives. That's a stranger. And you need to drop them off. And there's nothing more difficult, perhaps, than ending what seems to be a friendship or a relationship. But for the sake of that other person who honestly needs someone else in their life to perhaps bring them back to a sense of balance in terms of life in general, or perhaps even their faith, and for their sake, for your sake, you might need to drop them off. And let's get back to the car thing for a second. You wouldn't repeatedly loan your car to someone who repeatedly trashed it, right? Who continually just showed up and you're like, there's a wheel missing. They're like, yeah, that's messed up. You wouldn't give it back to them again. So don't loan yourself to someone who repeatedly trashes you, okay? That's rule number 2. You guys got kind of quiet on that one. That's pretty intense. You're like, I thought this was supposed to be fun. It's kind of fun. Number 3, I want you to choose a destination. You don't just travel. You choose a destination and you borrow a map. This is kind of a 2-part thing, like choose a destination, borrow a map. Here's what I mean by choose a destination. Everybody ends up somewhere in life, right? Goals, no goals, having a destination, not having a destination. Time just goes by. And you've got the health to endure, maybe, right? All the way, like your 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and maybe you become, all the way to just like a couple weeks short of 100, like Betty White. I know, it's sad. Everybody ends up somewhere in life. The win, though, just humanly speaking, the win, and in terms of being a Jesus follower, the win is to end up somewhere on purpose, right? And just as in a long road, there are multiple legs. The first day we went here. The second day we went there. Third day we went, we stayed 2 nights here or 3 nights here, right? There's legs of it, right? There's usually multiple legs on a road trip. And there are multiple seasons in life. I'm not talking about weather seasons, because I know some of you are like, I don't like this season. No, I know. I'm not talking about the weather. It's cold outside. It's real cold. But multiple seasons of life. It's important in each season of life to determine a destination in that season. Now, you've already done this, right? We've all done this. You go to elementary school and your parents said your destination is to get out of that, all right, 5th grade, and then you go to middle school. You get out of 5th grade and you go to middle school. And then the thought is, right, I'm going to finish middle school so I can go to high school. So this whole idea of setting like a destination for each season, we grow up with some sort of paradigm or template that teaches us, like there are seasons, right? There's like different parts of life. But once we get out into the work world or in the job world, it's easy to lose sight. There are still seasons of life. There are single seasons. There are married seasons. There may be a first marriage and then a gap, or a second marriage, and there's kids season. There's grandkids season. There's all these seasons. And in each season, you need to choose some vague or general or maybe very specific like destination. It's important to choose in each season, determine essentially what you want in your life so that you can look back in each season or in this season and say, oh yeah, I did what I wanted to. And here, this is why, again, this is so important. Obviously, you don't want to drift. I hate metaphors like this, so if you could just, deal with this, please, because I hate stuff like this. But I'm doing this for your benefit, all right? So you can remember it better, because I hate it. Obviously, you don't want to drift. Nobody wants to drift. And if you don't decide, here's the thing, if you don't choose what you want this season to look like, or what we want, the next season to look like, at the end of the season, if you don't choose circumstances and people and life in general, it just decides for you. It just chooses for you. Because days just keep going. They keep clicking by. Road keeps coming, right? Life is a highway. Another day, another day, another day, right? So why don't we just decide? Because again, life is connected. This season leads to the next, which leads to the next. And if I don't set the correct destination for this season, I won't be prepared for the next one. This is what wisdom dictates, that I'm thinking about this season, not simply in light of what's right ahead of me or what's right in front of me, right? But ultimately what's way ahead of me. Because one season leads to each other, right? You got to look ahead on the road. And you know this, wishing won't get you there, right? Someday I want to meet someone. Someday I want to be married. Someday I'd like to have kids. Wishing is not going to make it happen. Someday I want to be successful financially, right? Someday I want, this for my life. Someday. That's a wish. That's not a plan. That's a wish. And it goes back to what is called the principle of the path. That direction, not your intention, determines your destination, right? Your direction, not your intention. This is true when you're driving, right? It's also true when you're living. It's not the direction. It's the direction, not the intention, that determines your destination. If you can drive north with the intention of going to Miami, and you're never going to get to Miami, right? But my intention's to go there. Well, you're going the wrong way. I don't care what your intentions. You can intend and and pray. You could trust in God, and you're still in Canada, okay? Intention is almost irrelevant. Intention should lead us quickly to some sense of direction. So in every season of life, we need to choose what the destination is. Not for our entire lives, but for this season, because seasons are connected. And if we're not prepared for the next season in this season, then when the next season gets here, well, duh, we're just not prepared. You only get to do your 20s one time. You only get to do your 30s one time. You only get to do your 40s one time, which I'm almost there, but please don't talk about it. You only get to do, hopefully you only get to do a marriage once, but, you only get to do the raising of that son or that daughter of yours one time, right? And you better be prepared for the second or third child, because that first one, you only get to, you're like, I learned a lot, right? Discipline, not desire, determines our destiny. Discipline. And do you know what discipline is? Discipline in this season, I want to make sure I'm disciplined enough in this season to prepare myself for the next season, because I understand life is a highway and there's another destination coming down the road. So decide now what you want to look back on at the end of this one. Look back on and say, oh, yeah, I did that well. I nailed that. I accomplished that. I made that happen, or I at least got it started. In each season, we have to have a list. We have a list, and we call it, oftentimes, at least in my head, I call it no for now. Not forever, no for now, but not forever. In other words, here's some categories of things that we're just not going to do. Next Thursday, can you do this? Let me check the calendar. I'm going to look. It drives me crazy. We've just decided there's some categories. I'm not going to tell you what they are, because you got to come up with your own, and you got to mind your business. But sometimes in a season of life, because of what you want to accomplish and because what's important in that season, you have to prioritize and say, you know what? This is not a bad thing. Right? I'm not against it. This is just a no for now thing. And when we get through this season, it could be a yes, right? No for now, but not forever. Those are the kind of decisions you make once you've decided what is most critical in this season of life. And when you're in school, you got to do that. When you're starting a new job, you got to do that. When you're beginning a new relationship, you got to do that. When you're beginning a new marriage, you got to do that. When you're raising kids, you got to do that. No for now, but not forever. Because the destination I've determined for myself in this season of life. Now, the second part of that is to borrow a map, and here's what I mean by that. Somebody has already been where you're hoping to arrive, right? I mean, somebody's already been there. They've been there. They've done that. They've done it poorly, or they've done it well. But somebody has traveled that road before. And here's the thing, and this is the kind of insulting, but when you transition into a new season of life, you don't know what you're doing, right? How could you? You've never done it before, right? I mean, I ultimately, okay, so when we had Jackson, never had a kid before, right? And we stayed a couple nights in the hospital, and then, the nurse comes in, and she has a smile on her face, but it sounds awful when she says it. She's like, hey, if you'll just go get the car, I'll get Mrs. Dilly and Jackson, and we'll get you guys in the car, and you guys can go home. And I was like, by ourselves? Like, I don't even know how to change a flat tire, right? Like, I ate leftover food out of the sink 3 days ago. You're sending me home with the baby by myself? Does someone stay with us till we know what we're doing? I don't know what I'm doing, right? And we brought Jackson home as a baby. I put him so close to our bed that we got feedback on the baby monitor. That's how close he was to our bed. Because I'm like, anything could happen. I don't know. What do babies do, right? Like he could just die. Like in 10 seconds, it's just over, right? I have no idea. I'm freaked out. And there are seasons in our life we just don't know what we're doing. How could we possibly know? Every season of life is different. So the wisest thing you could do is find somebody and borrow their map. So we asked other people who had been there. We asked our parents. We asked our friends who had kids. We read books about parenting. And you know why? Because we didn't know what we were doing. And now we got it all figured out. We nailed raising kids. It's so good. But somebody has written a map, and somebody has investigated. And that is what I'm talking about. You need to find somebody's map. And the other way to do this is, you find some people down the road and sort of accomplish what you hope to accomplish, either professionally or academically, or maybe like in their marriage and family. Here's my suggestion. You get their email address, you get their phone number, and and you don't necessarily say, well, I want you to mentor me, right? Because sometimes that's weird. You send them questions like, you know what? I've got this new job, or I've just moved in this new city, or I see what you've done with this, and I'd love to ask you, like, would you meet with me for coffee? I'll buy you dinner, and I just ask you some questions, right? And essentially is what you're saying is, I want your map. Now, don't say I want your map, because they're like, what? Like, what map? What are you talking about? And we've already talked about being a stranger, and you're it in that situation if you ask that, so don't do that. So what I'm saying is, be like, tell me what you know, right? And here's the thing about people who are a season ahead of you in life. And I'm a season ahead of some of you. We don't know how much we know until someone asks, right? You just don't know how much you know until someone begins to ask you questions, okay? So one of the best things you could do is reach ahead a generation and say, show me your map. Don't actually say that. You might be familiar with what's called Vernon Law, and you may have heard this before, even though you didn't know what it was called. That experience is a hard teacher because it gives the test first and the lesson afterwards. Experience is a hard teacher because, oh no, I failed a test, and now I realize what I should have known. The only way to avoid this is to get ahead and invite information. Authors or people in your life in this season, so when a test comes, you already know, you've already had a lesson. You already know what you're doing. And acknowledging, and you know this, acknowledging that you don't know, and inviting someone into the space, whether you just aren't exactly sure, right? That's not weakness. Asking for help isn't weakness, it's maturity. It's a sign of wisdom. Again, the author of Proverbs put it this way: listen to advice and accept discipline. At the end, you will be counted among the wise. Now, don't raise your hand or elbow anybody, but some of us, guys, it's hard for us to take counsel from other people. It's an ego thing. It's a pride thing, right? I'm as guilty as anybody else. I just have to, sometime. Don't blow up, right? Don't get frustrated. Just be like, let me tell you, I'm like, just shut up, Matt. Just listen. Listen to the counsel. Sometimes you got to throw it out the window, but you always listen, right? Accept the discipline. You know what this means? It means to accept the fact that you're wrong, or you might be wrong, right? And if you don't accept the fact that you're wrong, what will you continue to be? Wrong, right? Wrong, right? My goal in life is to never learn anything new. Nobody wants to end up there. So listen to counsel and accept discipline so that you may be wise, and listen to the proverbial promise, and you'll be wise for the rest of your days. And here's what that means. You'll be wise in this season and prepare in such a way that you're ready for the next season. You'll be wise for the rest of your days, because if the pattern and the habit of your life is to be open to the counsel and the wisdom of others, even people who aren't as smart as you, even people who aren't as accomplished as you, even people who aren't as successful as you are, even people who aren't as educated as you are, right? I just covered all the reasons that many of us are like, I can't listen to them, right? What have they ever done? What have they ever accomplished? Well, no. Listen to counsel, and you will be wise for the rest of your days. So choose a destination in this leg of the journey or this season. Borrow a map, and perhaps you'll get where you're going, and you'll get there faster and with less regret. Number 4, pay attention to the signs. Pay attention to the signs. Okay, road signs are there for our protection as well as our direction. Many of us, some of you guys think those signs are for other people. I don't need to do that. Those are for what other people need to do. I don't need to slow down for the curve. I'm a good driver. Yellow light means speed up, right? See, you're exactly what I'm talking about. And then again, we see other drivers ignore those signs, and what do we think? Idiot. Gosh, you don't know what you're doing, right? If we're doing it, it's like, well, I have somewhere to be, and I knew what I was doing. They're doing it, they're dumb, right? And this is the same, it's true for all of us, right? Again, the author of Proverbs, I don't know if I put it in here. Maybe sorry. The prudent, the wise, the people who know life is connected. The prudent, I didn't put it in here, sorry. The prudent see danger and they take refuge, right? The prudent see the signs and they respond to the signs. Wise people pay attention to the signs of what's going on with their friends. They pay attention to what's going on with their kids or other people's kids. They pay attention to what's going on in their marriage. And you know what? I'm paying attention to what I see going on, financially, right? We're not in trouble yet, but, we need to slow around that curve, right? They see what's going on professionally, right? I'm not just going to live in some alternate universe and pretend everything's fine. I'm going to pay attention to the signs. It's always tempting to ignore signs. It's most tempting to ignore signs relationally. But relationships are like a combustible engine, right? Nothing improves with neglect. But one of the reasons we ignore the signs in our relationship is, honestly, we don't know what to do, right? I can fix my router. I can fix a lot of things electronically. I like to fix things. But when it comes to relationship, it's like, I don't know how to make this better. Like, I can just reboot my internet. I can't just reboot a person, right? I'm going to unplug you and plug you back in, and maybe it'll be better, right? So we're tempted to ignore the signs because, but nothing improves with neglect, especially relationships. So you may hate me for saying this, but if more than one person has brought something to your attention that they think you need to work on or need to get better at, that's a sign, right? If more than one person and they don't even know each other, right? They're not even friends with each other. It's not like they've been talking. No, you're the common denominator, right? It's obvious. If it's obvious to everyone, but it's not obvious to you, it's obvious to everybody else. If more than one person has brought it to your attention that something needs to be addressed, that's a sign. You know how, people are on the right track. Do you ever hear yourself, this is how you know people are on the right track. Do you ever hear yourself say, okay, don't bring that up again. I just want to take that sign off my road, right? I don't want to talk about that. Or honey, son, mom, whoever. Don't ever, or I don't want to hear about that anymore. I don't want to hear about that anymore. I don't want to talk about it. Or I'm fine. Quit talking about that. Quit talking about it. Why do we respond that way? You're ignoring it, right? You keep ignoring those signs. You're taking the long way and you're taking the wrong way, right? You may never arrive because the prudent see danger and take refuge. But the simple, I'm fine. I know everything I need to know. You're wrong. They don't understand life is connected, that today leads to tomorrow, and today is going to show up tomorrow. The simple keep going, and they pay the penalty. But you won't be the only one who pays, because everybody is looking to you that you're responsible for, that depends on you. They're going to pay as well. So pay attention to the signs. And last but not least, the fifth and final one is kind of the heaviest one, but it's the most important in terms of getting to where we want to get in life and ultimately getting to where your Heavenly Father wants you in life. The fifth and final one is don't carry unnecessary baggage. If you carry too much baggage on a trip, it slows you down, right? It just weighs you down. There's always a temptation to overpack on a road trip, right? Carrie brings our own pillows everywhere we go if it's in a car. Yeah, you can clap for that. It's fine. And on a road trip, it's crazy to me, but I use them, so. It's on a road trip, right? It's not a big deal. But on a life trip, it may be the biggest deal. Unnecessary baggage, what happens? On life trip, it's a really big deal. It'll slow you down. It'll slow everyone down in your family, everyone around you who's trying to do life with you. Baggage is just that. It's unresolved or partially resolved stuff from your past. And our baggage is the stuff from the past that keeps showing up in the future and keeps showing up in the present. And it seems to make things more and more and more complicated and actually empowers the past to define our future. It empowers the past to detour us from our destination of choice. So, are you carrying any unnecessary baggage? You should take a look. And the reason we should take a look is every once in a while, it's because we've all been hurt. We've been betrayed. We've been left out, or we felt neglected. Some of us, you were forced to parent a parent because your parent was just incapable, even though you were in high school or a college student. Or maybe you had to forego a career to move back home with a parent. And there's just stuff left, right? Left you angry, left you vulnerable, and left you suspicious of other relationships. And it's hard to unpack that stuff. It's hard not just to carry it along with us. And the reason it's hard to leave it behind is because it's part of our story. It's part of your life experience. So there's just something in us that's like, no, I have to carry this with me for the rest of my life because it was such an integral part of my life. It's part of who I am. But it's best to just unpack it and leave it behind. And the reason you know it's best to unpack and leave it behind is because you want the people you're doing life with to unpack theirs and leave theirs behind when it begins to complicate your life. But it's hard to imagine that, right? But if you don't, if I don't, if you don't deal with your baggage or your demons, right? Those demons that go into a cellar of your soul and they just lift weights, right? And they get bigger and they get stronger and they get bigger and they get stronger. And the thing that's so deceiving about this is the event itself gets further and further and further behind us as you move forward. But the consequences and the shrapnel gets bigger and bigger and bigger and deeper and deeper. And as time goes by, most people lose sight of the source of their anger and the source of their bitterness and the source of their angst, the source of their frustration. Because it happened so long ago, but they just take it with them wherever they go. They're just too complicated and they're too sensitive and they lose sight of the source when in fact the source is something that happened as part of their story. This is probably what Paul had in mind when he said to Christians, he's like, look, you just can't help getting angry sometimes, right? Sometimes you're just going to get angry. But if you're a Jesus follower, be angry, but don't sin. Figure out a way to separate yourself in a healthy way from what caused you or made you like angry in the behavior that just complicates your life. Don't let the sun go down while you're still angry. Don't let the devil get space, is really what that means. Or to contextualize it for our conversation, don't give the devil space in your luggage and your carry-on, right? Don't give the devil a toehold, a handle, or something that creates a place where he can hang on. If you're not comfortable with the word devil, we can change the word. Don't give bitterness. Don't give resentment. Don't let fear. Don't give anger a toehold, a place in your luggage where you carry it around everywhere you go, into every situation, into every relationship, because you will look around one day and be like, man, why do all of my relationships end up like this? What are you carrying with you? Do you have any demons down there lifting weights? Are you carrying any unnecessary baggage? If you're not sure, the people closest to you, they know. They know. And they know because they have to help you carry it. They have to help you carry it. By that I mean sometimes they have to duck your anger. They have to navigate your overreaction. They have to compensate for your moods. They have to avoid certain topics because every time those topics come up, you just escalate. So they just say, shh, and we don't talk about that. We don't talk about that. And the fact that they don't talk about it, you think you're fine. But it's because they're having to help you carry your baggage. They work hard to ignore or try to ignore the issues in your life. Not because they don't love you, but because they do. And the people who love you the most would love to help you unpack that stuff. Or to find someone to help you unpack that stuff. Or to use Apostle Paul's words, he's just direct. He's like, get rid of it. Leave it behind. Get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, along with every form of malice. And then he tells us it's so simple, and it seems so simplistic, because he just makes it seem so simple. He's like, here's how you do it. By forgiving each other. This is how you get rid of bitterness and anger. You find the source, and you unpack it, and you forgive. And you're like, Matt, but you don't know my story, right? And you're right. I don't know your story. And I would never say this except for what Paul says next. He says, you are to forgive just as Christ, God, forgave you. That we don't forgive because people deserve to be forgiven. They may not. But then neither did we. We forgive because we've been forgiven. We cancel each other's debts because God, through Christ, canceled our debt. And here's the trick to this. When you're hurt or when I'm hurt, it creates a debt-debtor relationship. The hurt, the betrayal, the abandonment, whatever it might be, it creates a debt. They owe me my childhood. They owe me my first marriage back. I didn't want to be a divorced person, right? They owe me the opportunity to put my kids to bed at night. And they owe me an education. They owe me, they owe me, they owe me, they owe me. And here's what happens, is that their debt becomes your baggage. And I've been there. We lug it around waiting to be paid back. And while we're lugging it around, waiting to be paid back, the demons are just lifting weights, getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And the problem, of course, is the people from our past, they can't pay us back. They can't. Half the time, they don't even know they owe us anything. And the other reason they can't pay us back is because we come equipped with rear view mirrors, but no reverse. They can't give your childhood back to you. They can't give you your first marriage back. They can't give you that opportunity back or career back. They can't give it back to you. So get rid of all bitterness, rage, anger, along with every form of malice. Close those accounts. That's partly what inspired us to do the whole Give Light campaign, is to put people's debt back at zero, just like Jesus did that with us. Tell those demons, I'm closing the gym. And they'll complain, but over time, those voices, not immediately, but over time, those voices, those nagging thoughts, that bitterness, that anger, that resentment, that frustration will just get a little weaker, a little weaker, a little weaker. And it's not fair to forgive. It's not fair because they actually owe you. But it's not about fairness. This is about your freedom. So cancel those debts. Unpack all that stuff. Choose to forgive. You just decide this is what forgiveness is. Forgiveness is, I've decided you don't owe me anymore. You don't owe me. And who knows? Unpack all that stuff, and you might be able to get by with just a carry-on, right? Just a very small thing that you carry with you. So those are 5 rules of the road. Don't travel alone. Don't pick up strangers. Choose the destination. Get somebody's map. Pay attention to the signs, and don't carry unnecessary baggage. And you're going to end up somewhere in this season. You're going to end up somewhere in life, and I want you to end up somewhere in this life on purpose. And you get to choose. So follow the rules of the road, and perhaps you'll reach your destination on time and on purpose. Let's pray. Heavenly Father, wherever this lands with us, give us the courage to admit it. Give us the courage to say something. Just give us the courage to get out before we scramble back and go back into hiding. For the person in here, God, who is transitioning into a different season, I pray that they wouldn't simply gravitate towards acceptance. I pray they would find some people who actually share their values. Father, for those who today who've got strangers in the car with them, it's so awkward to uninvite someone in our lives. Just give them the wisdom to know how to do that. And Father, for those who are carrying around extra baggage, and we know we all are, just give us the courage to get help and to own it and to apologize. For those of us who are ignoring moving signs and ignoring signs, I just pray that we would just shut up and listen, that you and your grace and your mercy would do that thing in us that only you can do. God, as they're unpacking, God, I hope that they see that they're not messed up. They're not beyond recognition, that the past does not define them, God, that you define them. That how they were treated or how they lived, God, can be left behind forever. And they could cancel the debt of the people that they feel owe them, because they can't pay them back, Lord. And that lack of forgiveness isn't weighing down that other person, it's weighing us down. And we carry it with us every day. Let us, God, forgive those, not because they deserve it, but because you first forgave us. In your name we pray. Amen. So we do have communion up here. We're not going to take communion together as a group, but if you would like to take communion, we normally do. But this, I don't necessarily know this translated well to communion, so I was like, I'm not going to do that. So if you want to take communion, please make sure you come up here and you grab it. And if you're a person today where you're like, I would like to make a decision today, I would like to start coming to Tribe, or I want to accept Jesus, whatever that may be, you can always text the word NEXT to the number you see on your screen. And we would love to get to know you. So thank you so much for coming to First Wednesday. Stay warm out there. We'll see you on Sunday for the second sermon of Easy Street. And as we say every week at Tribe, every time we meet, love is the best thing we do.